Okay, so now we have put on the etching primer, we've put on the white primer all over, okay, and now the next part, now you can skip this part if you want to, but I tend to do this, is we will do some highlighting of some of the panels. Now the panels are raised anyway, you'll notice that. However, they should really be in rather than out, if you see what I mean. So what we're going to do, we're going to put some black paint on the inside around the panel lines which are raised, and this will emphasize everything when you put your top layer of paint on. Now, had this been at a larger scale, I would have just got a sheet of paper, held it against the panel line and just brushed it, because then you don't get an absolute straight line. But because this is such a small scale, what I have done is I've actually got some Tamiya 10mm wide masking tape, and I've put the masking tape around each of the ribs. You'll probably just about see the highlighted rib there, maybe not, I don't know. And I've cut them in half and wrapped it around, making sure that the bottom is straight, because obviously when you put tape around, it doesn't go in absolutely to the actual shape. Try and get the tape as close to the panel line as you can. Now, this is one of my tips here, is to get a plate, get your tape more or less to the right size, put the tape on the plate, and then what you do is you need to get some of the glue off, otherwise it sticks a bit too well. Even to this plate it sticks a bit too well, and make it a little less adhesive. Okay, so when you come to do part of the wing, put that into view, you can then run it along on and around the panel line, which can be a little bit tricky, and take that all the way, and there you go, and that will come off a lot easier and will not take the primer off with it. Now I'm going to just do the other side, and this is more luck than judgment, if I'm being honest with you, and I'll just pop that on there. Now, as I said before, I'm no photographer or cameraman, and then I'll explain just a little bit further what I'm doing with this. Now, the reason I have done this is because I have the flaps here and the ailerons here, and we just want to highlight that with a little black line. I'm going to use the airbrush, a little black line there, and all around the panels and everything. Take all the tape off, and then we'll just have black rectangles basically, and that will highlight everything when we put the top coat on. It just gives a little bit more of a model feel to it. I know that basically, well, I look at this as a toy, but I look a bit more than a toy. It's going to look brilliant, hopefully. So I'm not going to bore you with taping the rest of this up, so I'll move on to the next stage, and we'll come back to this when I've painted the black on. So now I have highlighted the panels on the fuselage and the wings, a little bit underneath, nothing too major, because on the original there's not that many panels and you're not going to see the underneath. I've done inside the wells as well, wheel wells. And now here where it pays off putting the tape on the fuselage is because they are quite distinct. There's actually 7 panels I think on the original, this shows about 5. And you'll see that because you're using a straight edge, you get a little bit of overspray, and then you get to the next one, it's pure white, so you get that bit of shading through the blue paint. And obviously when we do the green, we'll use a lighter colour green, then a darker colour green. You put the light on first and then the dark afterwards. And obviously I've done the gun ports and the exhaust and just put a little bit on the wheel there and the rudder, elevators and things. Now I've pre-mixed the blue and we're using Tamiya XF23 light blue. And you know, we're not going in for a competition here. I'm not going to start mixing shades and everything else. I mean, you know, it's not a competition. So I'm first going to do the side panels, and then if it's okay to pick it up, I'll turn it over and just do the underneath. So here we are with my trusty airbrush, and we're just, oh, we're dripping a little bit there. Just run it through a little bit, and we've turned the paper upside down and got a nice bit of clean stuff. This is a dual action airbrush, so I'll just start at the back. Okay, so we have masked up the ME109. I've used some blue tack to go along the line edge. Now you're thinking, what are you doing, you crazy guy, using blue tack? Well, you don't want an actual straight line per se, because in reality these things were done in the field, in factories and everything else, and it's whatever paint they had lying around half the time, and now they mixed it. And these guys were using a spray gun, you know, just bigger than this, so it hasn't got to be an absolute sterile straight line. And there's the compressor kicking in. So also it's easier to take blue tack off, it doesn't pull the paint off, and you get a more natural lineage. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the lighter green on. In this case I'm using field grey XF65, not because it's supposed to be wonderful, but it's what I got on my box, so there you go. And then I'll be applying olive green XF58. So what have you got in the box? This is not going for a competition. This isn't for purists. It's a light green and a dark green. Okay, so I've pre-mixed my air gun, and that's coming through nicely. And earlier when I was doing the black, I did the canopy. Now that's just to give it a base, so I'm going to go over that first. There you go. There you are. And we'll peel that off a bit later and see how that turns out. So we'll put that to one side. Let dry. I've pre-done the undercarriage blue, and I may put a bit of aluminium for the shock absorbers. We will see. So let us begin. For some reason we need more air. Oh, it's got enough air now. Okay. Right, so we have masked up, and I have done it to the drawing, or at least the paintwork. And so this is where you've got to concentrate just a little bit, because it's so easy to fill in the wrong part. So what I'm going to do is turn this colour scheme the correct way up so I don't get confused. I've pre-mixed the darker green. I'm going to blow it through in just a minute. I've nearly run out of blue tack, so I've had to take it out the middle of the canopy. So that nearly ended in a disaster. So just run through, make sure it's thoroughly mixed, and here we go. So we will start with the tail end. So I'll just double check with the paint guide. Done this bit, done this bit, done that bit, done the tail. Yeah, that'll do it, I think. Don't want to overdo it, that's for certain. Just do a little bit in the cockpit. Cockpit was a mid grey. Now we can start taking this off. Show a bit of continuity. And already you can see the two different shades there. And one of the good things about using blue tack is, besides the fact that it's cheap and reusable, it doesn't stick and it's not horrible to work with. Tape is horrible to work with. I'd rather use blue tack, but when needs must. So this is going to be unedited and warts and all. Right. Well, not too bad. What do you think? Yeah?